I'm watching the Joe Rogan, Ben Shapiro, uh, whatever you want to call it, podcast. And Joe Rogan is hitting, Ben Shapiro, from the right angle, talking about the way that people are impacted when they're raised in certain environments. Ben Shapiro is coming with the classic, conservative talking points, which just basically revolves around personal responsibility, right? And in talking about the system of white supremacy and how, it doesn't affect things, and the reason why black people are where they are is just, it's all because of personal responsibility. There's so much shit that Ben Shapiro just literally flies over, like literally, like if you know how like they say like the Midwest part of the country is like flyover country, like when talking about the black community and the historical context of black people in this country, like Ben Shapiro just literally like flies, just completely over that. Just completely over it, right? And he tries to make these your grandfather worked hard and did this and did that, and you made it. And Joe Rogan got him, when he said, okay, and what happens if that didn't happen for your grandfather or whatnot, and you grew up, in these, impoverished environments where there's no opportunities and there's no jobs and everything. See, the thing is like, the problem with Ben's argument, and this is the problem with a lot of white people when they have these conversations about race and all that, they act like the system works for everybody just the same. They assume that. And one of the things that I wish Joe Rogan didn't agree to, and this is what white people, they keep doing this when they go up there, right? And they say, and I understand that Ben Shapiro is Jewish. You got people go, well, Ben Shapiro, he's not white, he's Jewish and everything. And then let me back up a bit. Again, even Martin Luther King addressed this, and so did Malcolm X address this. And I'm just surprised that Ben Shapiro's up there making this talking point. He's like, well, my Jewish people, and we came to this country and we did this and we did that and blah, 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 blah. Any Jewish person, all they have to do is change their last name. Or take off that yarmulke. Ben Shapiro's got dark hair. If he was to walk in the room and say, hey, I'm a dark Italian, nobody would know. If he was to walk in the room and say he was something else, anything else, nobody would know. You know what I mean? You had Jewish people who changed their name from something like Goldstein to Goldwater or anything that didn't have the indicators of being Jewish. African Americans couldn't do that. If you're being discriminated against because of the color of your skin, that's not something that black people can run away from. That's not something that black people can just simply change their last name and suddenly become a part of, the dominant society, right? Just integrate and whatnot. What you saw with a lot of the immigrants where they got rid of their accents, or their kids didn't have accents, or they changed their last name or shortened their last name when they came into Ellis Island and were incorporated into, white America. Right, so that was another intellectually dishonest part. But the part that pisses me off is this whole notion, that America, it works for everybody just the same. But anyway, getting back to the definition of racism. What is racism? So Ben Shapiro was talking about some book that he read and was talking about, what racism is. What is racism? Racism is where, one group thinks that they're superior to another, right? That is not racism. That is not what racism is rooted in, to say it more accurately. Racism is rooted in group economics. There is an in-group and there is an out-group. And when you have black people who came from the situation of slavery, right, and you have white people who've controlled like 90% of American wealth, how do you create a situation of economic parity with that? And see, here's the lie. Here's the lie of it all. This is why white supremacy is white supremacy, and why black people are going to have to fight to challenge the system of white supremacy. And I mean really fight, with some shit that I can't even say on fucking YouTube. But it's just the reality, because white supremacy is about maintaining power. It is not about any of this other bullshit about social integration and all that. No, it's about maintaining power. If let's say black people come out of slavery, black people have $1. I'm giving them $1 when we know that they came out of slavery with nothing but the clothes on their back because they didn't even get their 40 acres in a mule. You know, they were dumped into a Monopoly game without being given any of the freaking money. And I say this in another video that I did, was totally unrelated to this one, but it's funny how both of those things coincide. I just got to take the time to freaking upload it and do all the formatting and all that other bullshit. But anyway, let's say black people got $1, white people got $10, right? Now, white people will try to tell you, well, if black people want parity with white people, they're going to need, $4 more so that black people have $5 and white people have $5, right? And I understand that white people are the majority of the country, so, it's not going to be this sort of 1-to-1 ratio. But I'm just using this for analogy purposes, right? But here's the thing, right? So white people try to paint the picture like, oh, well, the black people, they just go out here and they work hard and do X, Y, and Z, then we'll give them, the $4 that they need in order to have, the $5, or I should say they had like whatever, $9, whatever. Okay. To make it well, no, my math is fucked up. But anyway, to try to get black people as close to having $5 and white people having $5 as possible. Okay. And here's the thing. White people, they already know that in order for them to maintain power and be in the dominant position, they must hold on to as many dollars as possible. This is why it's not about hard work and personal responsibility and, it's a meritocracy. No, the fuck it's not. It's about maintaining power. There are in groups and there are out groups. And when you are the out group, you are being economically denied access to resources. I mean, hell, what the hell is inside trading? What is inside trading? Notice the term inside trading. Inside, which means that the trading is only going on amongst the people who are on the inner circle. Everybody who's outside of that circle is what? They're not in there. They're not involved, right? Even though the trading is supposed to be, transparent and all that other shit, that's why they made rules against inside trading. And see, this is the whole thing. And I've said this before. If you have a group of people that like if you have, this is where class comes in, right? If you have the upper classes who work in concert to maintain their position of dominance when it comes to their class status relative to everybody else, what makes you think that doesn't go on, between the races? What makes you think that doesn't go on a racial level? Hell, all it would take is the white elites to come in the room and you say, oh, well, the average proletariat white people, they don't subscribe to that, right? Because this is the average white person's defense. But when the white elite person comes down and says, hey, this is what we're going to do because we got to keep, those people out. The regular everyday average white person, they oblige the shit. I mean, Southern strategy and all other type of, conservative racial politics have played on this, right? Oh, well, you got to make sure you do this, vote this way, because, if you don't, the black people, they're going to come for your shit. They're going to take your shit. They're going this, they're going that. And I'm saying the white elites have always played on that. If you can recognize that that people in a higher class, the elites, will conspire against the lower classes, then you have to recognize that it is not a stretch to say that the white race conspires against the black race, especially when you put class on top of that, being that the more white people are in the upper classes than black people. So right off top, and it's very hard to distinguish, but from a perspective of a black person, and you're at the bottom, not just because of class, but also because of race, and given the historical context of this country, because again, black people were marginalized because of their race. They were relegated to the rung of being a slave and chattel labor because of their race, right? But then, see, the thing is once they were, quote unquote, incorporated into society, which really didn't even happen after 1965, then class also became a factor, or became the new factor, because you couldn't discriminate against somebody on the basis of race. So what you did is you discriminated on the basis of class, which effectively had the same end result, right? Oh shit, we can't say blacks can't come in the pool anymore. Or we can't say blacks can't come to this restaurant anymore. We don't want blacks here. How do we keep blacks out? Oh, I know. We'll make it $100 a plate. Because that way blacks can't afford to come here, or blacks can't afford to live here, because we control all the opportunities and all the jobs and all the resources. So we know what we pay the blacks. So as long as we keep the price above what the average black person can pay, then we can ensure that black people are not able to come here, and basically have the same effect as having a sign on the door that says no blacks allowed. I mean, it's like I'm so sick of white people's intellectual dishonesty and the white apologists who come through. Racism is about power and control. Do not let people come through and throw up these smoke screens and all this confusion that racism is about hating somebody, or racism is about, or the core of it is about feeling that you're superior to another group. It is about group economics. And again, racism is only effective when you can deny the group that you're trying to be racist against and exclude opportunities and resources. And see, the thing is and this is the other bullshit when it comes to like white folks and their whole shit. They love to run around and tell black people, oh, well, the system, it works. And if you black people, you just go out here and you work hard and try hard. Oh, you can make it. You can do this. And we know that to be bullshit. That's why you see people out there tearing up the streets saying this whole motherfucker needs to burn down to the ground. That's why you see people, because it's a lie. It's a lie. Many of black people's problems that exist today is because black people bought into the illusion of inclusion. They bought into the idea, well, if I go and I just do this and do that, even though, remember, white people were trying to deny black people out of, particular areas, work sectors and everything. Black people still are an extreme minority of the private sector. Black people disproportionately work in the public sector, working for, the government, right? But they don't work in the private sector where all the money is made. Right. And so white people try to keep black people out of it. They don't want to go to school, black people. They deny black people education. Oh, you can't get our type of education because we got special education over here. You can't get our type of education. Right. So they deny black people that. Right. And then they try to paint this picture like it's this meritocracy, and they're just letting, it's all about, may the best man win, may the best woman win. And I'll tell you where that's bullshit. And all you got to do is look no further than the article written called Ghost of White People Past, which is about white people feeling some type of way when it came to their children competing with Asian children. You see, Asian children got that stereotype that they're kicking ass all over the place, and that they got that their kids can't compete, and that Asians have the ultimate discipline. And instead of just allowing the Asians to win, what did the white people do? Oh, we got to move. We got to go somewhere else. Oh, the Asians, they have tutors and all this other stuff, and our kids can't compete. I mean, go read that article, Ghost of White People Past, and read what these white people were saying about going to this particular school. I think it was out in California, and the Asians being successful, and how they were worried about their kids not being able to compete. And again, the bullshit of it all about this whole, if you just, it's this meritocracy, and if you just go in there and you just do the right thing and follow the rules and everything, you can move right on up, and it's all about hard work and personal responsibility. Like Ben Shapiro saying, what does Ben Shapiro got to say about these white celebrities and these white wealthy people who got caught trying to sneak their kids into these universities? What does he got to say about it? And not only that, those are just the ones that got caught. How long has that been going on before they got caught? And again, those are just the ones that got caught. How many of that stuff is still going on where people haven't gotten caught yet? You see what I'm saying? Like this is what people recognize. This is what a lot of black people recognize when they say that the system is rigged, when they talk about the system of white supremacy, and white people want to sit there and stare you in the face and say that it's all made up. It's all made up. They're getting caught left and right. I mean, just the legacy and the history of the shit. Racism is about maintaining control, power, socioeconomic, political, and militaristic domination. That is what it is about. All this bullshit that, oh, it's a meritocracy, you're just going to piss on us and tell us it's fucking rain. Fuck you. That's not what it's about. That's not what it is. I know piss when I see piss. I know what color it is. I know how it motherfucking smells. I know piss. You know what I mean? But they want to sit there and they want to piss on you and tell you that it's motherfucking rain. And we know it's not motherfucking rain. I'm only at 35 minutes and you see how worked up this shit got me. I'm only at 35 minutes. And Ben Shapiro up there just and I already knew it. I already knew he was going to come with some, personal responsibility and just the classic. Well, if he just didn't pick up a gun and just not shoot anybody, just this whole idea that the environment doesn't matter. But yet white people go out of their way to make sure that their kids go to the best schools and are in the safest environment. If the environment didn't matter, why not just have your kid be raised and born in a fucking volcano? Why not have your kid be raised and born in some motherfucking quicksand or some shit like that? Why not just, it doesn't matter where you live. It doesn't matter what your zip code is. It doesn't matter how prestigious the school is. No, white people go out here and they have the resources because of the disparities that this country has always had to not only weather the storm, but to give their kids the best opportunity and the leg up. It's like he went into talking about single parenthood and how, the black community and there's something morally wrong in the culture. This is what I hate about religious people, by the way, because they always try to make shit about, the moral compass is off. Yes, the black moral compass is off, but that's predicated on the environment. That's predicated on the situation that the system of white supremacy put black people in. It's like that whole flyover. You know what I'm saying? Did Ben Shapiro talk about, black men being disproportionately sent, starting from like 1960 all the way to like 1990? Did he talk about black men disproportionately being sent off to Vietnam? Did he talk about redlining and blockbusting? Joe Rogan brought it up, but he didn't cover that. Did he talk about the welfare state? Again, I'm only at 35 minutes. No, he didn't talk about, the welfare state. Did he talk about the dumping of drugs into the black community through the Iran-Contra and how that affected the black community, followed up by mass incarceration with RICO charges? Did he talk about that? No, he didn't talk about none of that. He didn't talk about none of that. It's just black people, personal responsibility. I mean, things that were intentionally done, to the black community, to keep the black community at bay, to keep black community being the alligator pit and the monsters and the constant threat and the super predators, and to get those white votes, and say that, the black scourge is right around the corner, and to keep getting those white conservative votes, because, if you don't vote for us, the black people, they're gonna leave Chicago and go all the way down to freaking, the southern part of Illinois and find you in your freaking on your farm, and you'll see a bunch of Escalades with rims on it, driving down your dirt driveway, through the cornfields. They're coming to get you, and they go and they perpetuate that bullshit. And white people, they eat it up. They eat that shit up, and it's like somebody told me, and you're gonna hear me say in another video, white people operate based on fear. And their fear is about losing their position where they feel, and it doesn't matter where the white person is on the totem pole, whether they're at the top or whether they're at the bottom. This is all a part of white collective identity. They fear the idea where they're not on top and they don't get to define things, or they have to share the space with somebody else, or a situation where other people are sitting at the table and they can saber rattle too. This is why you have all this, we don't want nuclear proliferation. We must stop nuclear. We got all the nukes in the world. It's okay for us to have arms, it's not okay for them to have arms. That type of bullshit. What I mean? Like I was having a joke with somebody with somebody about I don't know if you ever saw the cartoon what's a cartoon called? something, what is it, Conservative Space Rangers or something. It was on Adult Swim, you know what I mean? And I was just like, how the hell would even white people be able to interact in an intergalactic community, when it comes to, I mean, you can't even deal with black people. You can't even deal with others. It's the China virus. You can't even deal with other minorities on planet Earth, right? But then let some aliens come fucking down. You can already hear them. Go back to your planet. This is Earth. Earth is for humans. You know what I mean? How would you even engage in a you see Star Trek and Star Wars and all that other shit with all the xenophobia that goes on? All the we get to define shit. See, white people have been white too long. They don't know how to operate. They've even the white people speaking about this whole, if you find yourself down and out, all you got to do is just, corral the wagons and you'll be good. They have that level of hope. But see, when you started at the bottom and you've been at the bottom and you see very few people to get out of the bottom, all that hope that white people talk about, that they think that black people should have, that they have is predicated off of where they started, where the majority of them started. Even the white people that are at the bottom, you know what I'm saying? They can still look up and they can still be inspired by seeing all the white people that control, industries, the infrastructure, the opportunities. Again, speaking to, one of my white friends that talked about, how he went to, fucking divorce court, or not divorce court. He went to child custody court. And he said that him being white worked against him because, the judge just figured that, he had it like that. He was just a white man that was just avoiding his responsibility. And I was like, actually, that's them giving you the benefit of the doubt that a black man wouldn't get. Like, in other words, they looked at you like, yeah, you was just being an asshole, but you're an established white man. Again, that notice how they would look at a black man and they would be like, oh, this motherfucker's fucked up. And, the negative associated is going to be applied to a black guy who's behind or in the rears when it comes to child support. But him being a white man, it was assumed that he had it and he was just he was just an asshole white man that was avoiding his freaking child support. And I said to him, what you're identifying as what you feel was a bias against you in the court actually was a reinforcement of white supremacy. And that same bias that was against you in the court was actually something that worked to your benefit once you got out there on the street, which is the presumption that you got it together like that. See, when you in the child court, the presumption is you got it together and you're just avoiding to pay the child payments. Where a black guy, they would look at, yeah, he may be avoiding to pay the child payments, but he probably doesn't have it like that. You see? That right there is white privilege, right? He may not have felt it in the court, but as soon as he gets out of the court and he goes out on the street, because remember, he caught that domestic charge, right? Because, he found out his wife was cheating on him. That's why they weren't together. He put his hands on her, slapped her, and caught the domestic charge. So what did he end up having to do? He ended up having to create his own company, but he had the complexion for the connection. He was able to, again, that same bias that worked against him in the court is the same bias that worked for him on the presumption that he was competent and that he was smart and that he knew what he was doing. That worked for him when he didn't know what he was doing and he was trying to get his company off the ground, which he eventually did. Because he's a member of the dominant society, and the people who hold the cards and the people who hold the opportunities are overwhelmingly white. They look like him. This idea that the black guy just go out there and he can just go off and do the same thing is bullshit. It's bullshit. Not at the collective level, not in the same numbers. And see, white people, they love to grab these tokens and then throw them up and be like, oh, we let one black person through the door and see if they did it, you can do it. And their intention is to only let one black person through the door. Only let one through the door. A handpicked, chosen one that has to behave, we're only going to let him through the door. Because if the motherfucker goes up there and gets too real about some shit, then they gotta, we got to let him go. because he's up there getting too real about some. So we can't have that. We need obedient Negroes who behave, who we reward, which is essentially a dog whistle to tell the other black people that if you want to get here, you got to abide by our rules, because again, white people control all the opportunities. This is one of the main reasons why all that hope and inspiration doesn't really work for the vast majority of black people, because you can't sell a dream that you don't own. You cannot sell a dream that you don't own. Yes, little black boy in the ghetto. Yes, what you need to do is you need to study hard. And I know that you're, living with your single mom and everything. You need to study hard and go to school. Despite all the poverty and the crime and every mayhem that's going on around you, you must study hard, go to school, get an education, get straight A's, and then get a scholarship and go to college and get a degree. And when you graduate, you get to go out there and beg some white people for a job, because I don't have one for you. So I need you to get yourself together, hard work, perseverance, personal responsibility. And then when you finally got with all the ducks in the row that white society says that you need to have, then you got to go out there and beg white people for the job and hope that they fucking like your ass. Because that's the only thing that you can do. And that's why a lot of people turn that shit down and say, oh, that's bullshit, especially when they see how much a black person got to go out there and coon and got to tap dance to get a white person. They lose their identity. They lose their self, right? Which is like, how far do you want to take that? But I can understand how people feel about that shit, right? Or you end up with the situation where they see people who went through all of that and they still got nothing to show for it. They still got nothing to show for it. And see, that's one of the things that, white people think that, only letting a couple tokens through the door, that should inspire all the rest of the Negroes to stay well behaved and fall in line and accept their lot in life. Like, nah, that the fact that there aren't a whole bunch of examples and there isn't a community or a Wakanda or, a wealthy, affluent, black suburbs all over the country. That's what keeps a lot of the black kids in the ghetto and staying in those communities, because they look at that, they look at those situations and they're like, okay, so again, where are the examples of people actually making it by following the rules of the system? There ain't even that many. Because, again, the system of white supremacy does not allow it, because it wants to maintain socioeconomic political domination. Okay, too many black people on the job. It's like, looking awfully black here. It's like the way that they feel about clubs. If too many black people show up in the club. I know a freaking bouncer who worked at Live, and he told me point blank, period, that they only let so many black men in the club, or they got to offset and come with a number of non-black women or whatever, because if the club becomes too black, then they don't want to get labeled by, with the title of being a black club. Because then if the white people end up feeling some type of way, or the Latino people end up feeling some type of way, and then you're shifting the clientele and then the money that's being spent. Because again, black people are disproportionately poor. So it's like, we want the white people in here because they'll be popping bottles. They'll be, pulling up in Lambos and everything and give the club this prestigious reputation. Black people, they're associated with poverty. Yeah, we don't fuck with them. So it's, again, this is systemic. So Ben Shapiro just sitting there, it's all about personal responsibility, nigga. I'm like, fuck out of here, man. I'm so sick of this shit. Like, it's just these arguments, these conversations are just circular. Okay. At the end of the day, black people bottom line, ain't nobody gonna do shit for us. You know what I'm saying? It don't matter what black people are owed. This is how these motherfuckers operate. And black people need to be cutthroat about getting themselves some money and some goddamn power and not giving a fuck about all this kumbaya. We're all Americans. Everybody hold hands and da-da-da-da-da. Because they don't play like that. What these motherfuckers want to do is they want to go out there and they want to tell you to operate based on some shit that they don't even fucking follow. So you're always going to be behind operating like that. You're always going to be behind. Because while they're cutting corners, while they're doing all this behind the scenes shit to stay ahead of you, right? All you're doing is running around playing catch up. You're never going to get on their level, let alone surpass them. That's never going to happen because they're not going to allow it to happen. Okay? That doesn't need, in other words, group economics when it comes to white people does not require white people to hate black people. It requires them to have a desire to want to maintain power, socioeconomic, and political domination at the expense of black people and their lifestyles and their, freedoms and how they want to live and how they want to define things. This is why we have all these other problems like colorism and featureism and inferiority complex and black children failing the doll test and whatnot. That's why all that shit exists. Because white people want to define fucking every goddamn thing. And they want black people to, come in the room and, you can be the token. We're supposed to be like Jody LaForge on the fucking Starship Enterprise. You're just a token black person. Black people, you can join us. You can be in here, but it's like COVID-19. Y'all got to be 6 feet apart and fucking or 20 feet apart, and I should only see one black person in my immediate view, because if there's too many of you all, I start feeling uncomfortable. I don't like feeling uncomfortable. I start feeling like I have to subscribe to your standards and you defining things. I don't like that. I don't like that. It needs to be all white. That's where I feel most comfortable, right? And this is why you saw, back in the 50s and the 40s and whatnot, where they used to take all the black jazz music and whatnot and then go and then make big, freaking, what do you call that? Big band swing and big white bands and stuff like that. Take a whole black orchestra, replace it with an all white orchestra. Like, oh, we can imitate that. The ultimate cultural appropriation. We can do that. The black guys are good, but you take the same thing, but make it all white, because that's where we feel most comfortable, and with white people defining everything for black people. The sad part is there's a lot of black people that through the brainwashing, even they feel more comfortable being around white people. So there's an element of self-hatred that is induced by the system of white supremacy that affects black people. To where black people, it's like, well, why can't they do? Because they haven't healed from slavery. Because all this whole time it's just been pummeling over the head, just beating over the head. You're not good enough. You're too dark. Your features are too African. Your hair is too nappy. Africa never accomplished anything. You all are failures. Look at the ghetto. Look at Chicago. Look at the conditions that you all are living. Again, identifying the symptom, but not identifying the root of the problem. Right? Because they don't want to do that. They want to sit there and they want to use where we are right now and say, this is all that you can accomplish. Again, same reason why France and other countries did not trade with Haiti. They could not afford to have Haiti be an example of a successful slave revolt. They couldn't have that shit. Because why? That would spark other slave revolts elsewhere. Could you imagine if Haiti, the white people just acknowledged, okay, we lost, and then they said, okay, we'll trade with you, Haiti, finally, and then Haiti actually continued to be the wealthiest nation in the Western Hemisphere? Could you imagine? They couldn't allow that to happen. Okay? Again, the system of white supremacy, white people want to play dumb. And then, yes, I know you got white people who they don't really get it. They don't get the system of white supremacy, but they're kind of like, they play into it. You know what I'm saying? Like, in other words, it's like, it reminds me of that character in Titanfall, where he says, he said something to the effect of, I only require your understanding, not your cooperation. Something to that effect. And that's how the system of white supremacy works. You don't need every white person to understand how the system of white supremacy works. All you need is their cooperation, which is simple enough. All they got to do is come through, hand out a bunch of trinkets, hand out a bunch of, opportunities and shit like that. That'll pacify them. They'll be good with that. And not only that, the crumbs that we do give them, they will fight tooth and nail to keep those crumbs. As long as they think that they're getting something and they got a group that's beneath them to point to and they maintain their superiority complex, right, which we've induced, then they'll be focused more on keeping the blacks at bay than the motherfuckers on Wall Street and the bankers and the billionaires and all those people who have real power and have real influence over people's lives. We'll keep them from looking at us. We don't want them looking at us. We don't want them looking at Trilateral. We don't want them looking at the Bilderberg Group. We don't want them looking at the Illuminati. We don't want them looking at the Freemasons. We don't want them. No. Don't look at our secret societies. And then when people start looking at the secret societies, they're like, shit, they're looking at us. Oh, what do we do? Throw out a whole bunch of conspiracy theories. Confuse the fuck out of them. Alec Jones, get to work. Get out there, right? So they go and they do all that shit. It's just, again, divide and conquer. Divide and conquer. And again, see, the thing is with white people is, and I've already talked about this with black people. Black people, a lot of times, where we kind of fuck up is we focus more on the white people that are right in our faces, as opposed to focusing on the white people that are at the top. Right. So, you have white people, which honestly, I don't believe that most of them would necessarily even be on our side. You know what I mean? But they get angry because they feel that white guilt, or they feel that sense of loss, or that idea that they're going to lose something, or the idea that they're going to have less. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, point blank period, like I said before, if you're talking about creating some sort of economic parity between blacks and whites, at the end of the day, it is going to be a transfer of wealth coming from the majority white community to the black community. And white people are going to fight tooth and nail to make sure that doesn't happen. It doesn't matter. This is, again, another reason why I don't subscribe to bullshit religion. That's another reason why, because no matter all the shit that white people tell, all the shit that white people try to get black people and the slaves to subscribe to, and having the sweet twinkle of white Jesus in their eye, and praying to Yahweh and Allah and all this other shit, all these other religions, and have a good heart and this, that, and the third, right? We know the fucked up shit that white people did in America. We know what they did. We know how that has affected. It's documented. It's in history books, everything. And white people will still sit there clutching on their Bible, going to mass, praising the sweet twinkle of white Jesus, and will look your black ass in the eye and still say, fuck you, nigger, I don't owe you shit. You see? No matter how much they got the sweetness of Jesus in their bosom. No matter how much they talk about, the Bible talks about injustice and righting wrongs and all this other shit. Okay? All of that love and compassion, that shit stops at us. It stops at us. That's what, again, for all those people who are, well, why does Pete hate Christianity so fucking much? That's why. Because it's bullshit. And it has only ever been used as a political tool against black people. And black people need to get practical and stop being so fucking magical, because the magical shit doesn't keep us in our right state of mind, doesn't have us recognizing, the shit that's coming at us, what people are trying to do, and we running around, on some good and evil shit like it's red lightsabers versus blue lightsabers, like it's fucking the Jedi versus the Sith. And that is not how the real world works. Like my man with the glass eye tried to say in Last Action Hero, the bad guy can fucking win. Plain and simple. And if black people started acting like that, maybe they would take shit more seriously. But no, like a bunch of little children being told fucking, a nursery rhyme, we've been told this whole notion and this whole idea that, no matter what, well, white people, they're going to pay for all the evil shit that they did, and God's going to punish them, and righteousness will prevail and all that other shit. Meanwhile, you know what the white elite people are sitting there doing? They're going, you know why? Because they gave you that stupid idea in the fucking first place through media and propaganda and movies that you embraced and you took in and holy books as a fucking child. As a child. Show me the holy book that's written in Mende. Show it to me. Show me the holy book that is written in Mende. It ain't one. There ain't one. You see? There's no holy book that's written in the African language. You out here subscribing to other people's shit that have fucked us over, fucked us in the ass with no fucking KY jelly. And black people just sit around and they go, ooh, well, justice will prevail. Yeah, because if that makes you feel good at night. And truth be told, the only reason why black people really try to push that idea is because a lot of us are fucking scared. We're fucking scared of going out here and not only demanding what is owed to us and what we deserve, but actually going out there and fucking taking it. Anyway, that's all I got to say. That's my video. SWP out.